Ferrari introduced in late 2008 a car that nobody expected, another V8 sports car in Ferrari's lineup, the Ferrari California. This new 2+2 mid-front engine Grand Tourer was not only the first V8 front engine from the most respectable Italian carmaker, but it also was the first retractable hardtop convertible Ferrari model produced. With an all-aluminium chassis and body, whose design was given to Pininfarina, the Ferrari California's line were a total departure from the traditional Ferrari look. This was to express the softer side of this Italian machine, a deliberate choice from Ferrari, who wanted to gain a broader customer base, including women increasingly attracted by the prancing horse badge. Sadly, the California's design went a little too far out of its way, with the extended nose adorning a silly green on its egg crate grille, giving the California a catfish appearance. The hood had a central air scoop, but the disappointing fictitious two-slatted air vent on each side of the front fenders should have never left Pininfarina's design studio. The four air vents gave way to a very odd depressed belt line, rising towards the end of the door onto the top rear fenders. A lower intake placed on the door seals gave symmetry to the belt line and looked the part, but moving to the rear was another design nightmare. The rear end was chunky at best and was accentuated by a single, semi-encased round taillights on each side that just look, well, too Japanese for an Italian icon. As for the exhaust pipes, a new form of quiet pipe layout now being stacked up diagonally reminded you of the Lexus ISF. Ouch! In between the taillights and exhaust pipes was a black horizontal panel, optional in carbon fiber, where the license plate was fitted, with at each extremity a second taillight element including the reverse light, disguised by a smoked clear finish. All the way at the bottom, a rear diffuser was fitted to create 154 pounds or 70 kilograms of downforce at 124 miles per hour or 200 km per hour, and was as real as the front side vents were fake. The California wasn't an all-outright ugly duckling, but it's just too bad that its best profile could only be seen when the elongated and rakish hardtop with its fastback rear window was raised up. The California had a 340-liter or 12 cubic feet trunk cargo space, reduced to a still very decent 240-liter or 8.48 cubic feet space once the 14 seconds folding roof panel ballet ended. Inside, the fit and finish was finally up to the century standards and was maybe the most elegant interior offered by Maranello at the time, including the 612 Scaglietti. The dashboard had a 3-visor binacle with a mix of analog and digital gauges. The 4 protuberant interior air vents fit the cabin nicely, unlike those found on the 599 Fiorano, but the center dash navigation system came straight out of the Chrysler 300, with underneath it the HIT AC control unit. The tunnel console was composed of a bone-like aluminum ramp where the launch control, reverse and auto buttons were located, as well as the door locks and electric window buttons. The 2 bucket seats were electrically adjustable, and the standard 6-speed manual transmission was a very rare sight. Instead, most of the buyers opted for the 7-speed dual-clutch F1 transmission, which was a first on a Ferrari and was very smooth to operate with its paddle shifters behind a flat bottom and electrically adjustable steering wheel. When the F1 transmission was ordered, you could purchase the optional LED light markers at the top of the steering wheel, here to remind you when to upshift, except in default mode, which was the automatic setting. Also on the steering wheel was the start button and a 3-position Magnetino switch, also used in F1 and allowing you on the California to select between comfort, sport and traction control off, also known as CST. At the rear was enough space to fit 2 small children if the 2 optional rear bucket seats were specified. If not ordered, a series of leather straps were here to hold your precious belongings. If your cargo was too big, it could be stored halfway in the trunk by lowering the fold-down backrest seat, where the pop-up roll bar were hidden in case of a rollover. The engine was mid-front mounted, as in the true 4-seater 612 Scaglietti, giving along with the rear transactional transmission a good 47 to 53 front-to-rear weight distribution. The 4.3-liter or 262 cubic inch flat plane crankshaft V8 with direct petrol injection (DPI) produced 460 PS or 454 horsepower at 7,750 RPM. To stop this stallion, powerful carbon ceramic brakes were fitted as standard. Performance was very impressive though for a car weighing more than the 599 Fiorano, with only 4 seconds to reach 62 miles per hour, with the launch control on, while the top speed was 193 miles per hour or 310 km per hour. This equaled the time of the standard F430, who had 30 more horsepower and weighted 628 pounds or 285 kg less than the California. This can be explained by the direct fuel injection system, which for an equal engine capacity gave the Ferrari California a little bit more torque at a slightly lower RPM, 340 foot-pound at 5,250 RPM for the F430 versus 357 at 5,000 RPM for the California. But the most important factor for these impressive numbers was obtained by its new 7-speed transmission, which only took 70 milliseconds to upshift against the standard F430 150 milliseconds gear changes. At the end of the day, the horsepower is nothing without traction, and the California was loaded with driver's ed like traction control, CST, and F1 track. When these systems were combined, they gave the driver confidence to lay more power down the road on twisty tarmac by monitoring and taking data from the sensors. This allowed the computer to play with the throttle response and the new multi-link rear suspension. Finally, the magnetological dampers, SCM, fitted on all corners were fitted with ion fluid, which instantaneously reacted to an electrical current and changed the viscosity, thus the damper's stiffness at the touch of the magnetino. In March 2012, at the Geneva Motor Show, a revised Ferrari California made its debut as a 2013 model. The 2013 California 30 went on a diet at the Scaglietti factory and lost 30 kilos or 66 pounds of its aluminum structure without losing rigidity. Combined with the rise in horsepower, the California now produced around 30 more horsepower over the first series for a total of 490 PS or 482 horsepower at the same 7,750 RPM. The torque also increased from 357 to 372 foot-pounds at the same 5,000 RPM, making it now possible to sprint to 62 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. This gain of power had been made possible by fitting a new exhaust manifold and remapping the ECU. At last but not least, the option list now included a handling special package. This new handling special pack recalibrated the magnetological dampers for 50% faster reaction time and were mated to a 50% stiffer spring at the front and 11% at the back. The steering was also upgraded to be 10% quicker. This updated California and optional handling special package substantially changed the California's aptitude to be more of a dynamic car without taking away its Grand Tour character. The California HS can be identified by a silver grille and side front fender for vents. For your eyes only was an array of new colors, including a dual-tone paint scheme and the revival of old classic colors. Aside from its awkward looks, the Ferrari California was an excellent all-around everyday Grand Touring coupe convertible with plenty of space for your Champs-Élysées shopping that included loads of get-up-and-go. In February 2014, a completely revised California, now answering to the name of California T, was introduced ahead of the Geneva Motor Show held in March. The T stands for Turbo and was the latest turbocharged Ferrari since the 1987 Ferrari F40. The California T has all new body panels aside from the roof panel, still retractable in 14 seconds, making this redesign more than welcome. The California's Village Idiot smiley front grille, which should never have been designed in the first place, is now adopting a more chiseled and aggressive floor line, including larger air intakes on each side of it. The headlights too are more masculine and linear, and the Scaglietti hood air scope also has been replaced by two vents reminding you of the Daytona's hood vents design. The California's 4 air scoops on the front fenders lost their little slats, but most importantly they are now accentuated as the door seals aero wings. As well as the front end, the back end is also a success, with a more aggressive 3-slatted rear diffuser and rear brake air vents depressed on the rear side bumper as seen on the FF. But most important are the new rear quad exhaust pipe, which happily regain a more traditional horizontal layout. Inside the California T, nothing major seems to be different aside from an overall improved fit and finish. However, at a closer look, pretty much everything from the thinner binnacle for better outside visibility to a bigger 6.5-inch touchscreen navigation system has been revised. Even a pinch of extra room for the back seats now allows you to pack up 2 kids of a maximum of 8.5 years old instead of 8, but is still a welcome addition. Still at the back and to top it all, a very convenient little rear door latch now allows you to fit bulky items like the stereotypical golf bag. As highlighted by Ferrari, a gimmicky round touchscreen turbo gauge located between the two central air vents on the dash that Ferrari calls the TPE or Turbo Performance Engineer gets car geeks curious. The metal piece surfacing on the tunnel console, where transmission buttons modes are, is now shaped in a central spine, and all steering wheel stalks are now gone, with controls relocated on the steering wheel like on the 458 and F12. With that said, the 10% faster steering wheel and its Manettino still had its 3 modes, but also a separated suspension setting button on the steering wheel, letting you override the Manettino suspension presets and have a soft suspension with an aggressive engine mapping if you want it. The California T's directly injected twin-turbo V8 was adopted this time around for economical and ecological reasons, instead of seeking pure power delivery, and it delivers on its promises with 15% less gas consumption and 20% less CO2 emissions. To try to preserve the purity and responsiveness of an atmospheric engine, Ferrari uses 2 low inertia turbos, one per bank, and with variable boost management, Ferrari claimed to have a more natural feel when powering up than its competitors with only 1 second delay to reach full boost. Due to the turbo acting as a muffler, Ferrari wanted to retain some powerful vocal characteristics and left the V8 with a flat plane crankshaft, 3-piece exhaust manifold and turbo housing. With the help of 2 turbos, the California T's V8 went from a 4.3-liter or 262 cubic inch to a 3.85-liter or 235 cubic inch and still gained 70 horsepower with now 560 PS or 552 horsepower at 7,500 RPM. But the torque figure rose from 372 foot-pound at 5,000 RPM to 557 foot-pound at 4,750 RPM, thus 49% more torque but in 7th gear only. The faster twin-clutch 7-speed transmission is beefed up to deal with the extra power, as a longer-legged 7th gear, but Ferrari restricted the California T's torque delivery in lower gears supposedly to keep a normal aspirated feel. Still, with this extra power and torque, the 0 to 62 times comes in a seriously quick 3.6 seconds, while the top speed is 196 miles per hour or 315 km per hour. To stop the California T, Ferrari fitted the Sunseeker with the latest CCM3 carbon ceramic brakes, now giving you an eye-popping 60 miles per hour to 0 in 34 meters or 112 feet. Now to keep you on the road, Ferrari uses ESP8, which when combined with the F1 track makes you corner at a supposedly noticeable 8.5% faster according to Ferrari. As for the ride, it is transformed, which may be what the T stands for. The suspensions and their magnetological dampers, SCM, now reacts 50% faster and are 12% stiffer, finally giving the Ferrari California T composure and handling, which was missing on the original first series. Aside from its initial awkward looks, the original Ferrari California First series finally traded its ugly duck looks for a pair of turbos and became more than just a fast cruiser, but an excellent all-around everyday Grand Touring coupe convertible with plenty of space for your shopping, including lots of get up and go and zigzag abilities.